Hello everybody and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well, and today we'll be doing a box office update mid-weekend at this point because we've got some pretty interesting news coming out of thenumbers.com. So as you can see from this article posted just yesterday, the weekend predictions for Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is that it is expected to beat out the original Sonic the Hedgehog film in its opening weekend. So that is, of course, very good news for this film and very impressive, to say the very least. Of course, this is not adjusted numbers for inflation, but based on what they're projecting this film to make, it is still expected to make more than what the original film did. And even though I personally am not a big fan of this franchise, and it definitely is one that is more geared towards kids, and I think probably fans of more of the later games in the franchise and some of the later stuff that happened in the franchise, and not really for the generation that I grew up with, the generation of games that I was playing necessarily, because I was pretty much restricted to Sega Genesis games and some of the Game Gear games, for instance. So it was very limited in that instance, and so my knowledge of the franchise is pretty much limited there. And so when I have characters talking and showing these personalities, I don't really think that they fit the ones that were presented, at least in those games. And so part of the reason why I'm not a fan of these franchises, but one cannot deny when money is being made, and Sonic 2 is in a good position to make some money. So we'll do some updates on Sonic the Hedgehog 2, how it's doing, what they expect it to make, and also how some of the other films up this weekend are doing as well. Before going any further, though, please make sure you smash that like button, light up that fire button if you're watching over on Odyssey, and also make sure that you are subscribed to the channel with that bell notification turned on. That way you know every time a new video or live stream goes live on the channel. So I've never actually dived into or dove into the news reports coming from thenumbers.com. I typically use them for their numbers that they post for each of the films. But this actually talks about things, and I think it's actually pretty interesting. And seeing that they're the ones that collect the numbers, I would actually be willing to give them a shot on this. So let's see exactly how close they get in their overall projections versus places like Box Office Pro or Deadline, or even the studios who tend to lowball their numbers. And so let's go ahead and dive into this article from thenumbers.com. It says 2 long years ago, Sonic the Hedgehog posted an excellent $58 million opening weekend. A few weeks later, theaters were shut down across America, and it would be more than a year before another film, Fast 9, in June, would earn more than $50 million in its opening weekend. This weekend, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 will become the second franchise film, after Spider-Man No Way Home, to have a bigger opening than its predecessor since the start of the pandemic. Now, I always like to call out whenever they try and have records, or whenever they try and make things, whenever they try to basically create something out of thin air, saying since the pandemic or since this or since that, because I just think that, again, it's not really talking about things as they actually are. I do think that there is some significance. At least they're not going in the direction that Deadline did with The Lost City, where they try to spin The Lost City as a huge success by saying that it was the highest grossing, it was the best opening film for a female-led comedy during the pandemic, right? Being very specific there. At least in this case, they're trying to argue that this is being one of the few franchise films that's being able to actually do better than the original pre-pandemic film. And I think that is a little bit of a better metric, a little bit more of a fair metric, but I do still like to call those out nonetheless, because maybe the history books will record the weekend as the unofficial end of the pandemic era at the box office, with Sonic neatly bookending its beginning and end. Even if we have a few more bumps ahead, though, Sonic 2 should cruise past the first Sonic film and could earn as much as $70 million this weekend. And we know that was a part of the estimates that was being given by Box Office Pro as well. And yeah, the entire concept of the end of the pandemic era, I don't really think that there's ever going to be an actual end point that someone's going to be able to actually look to. I think most people are probably going to say that once things started to really get hyped up in the media about the war going on in Ukraine with Russia, I think that that's probably when most of us are going to look back and say, yeah, well, the narrative in the media started to change, and they started to realize, ooh, we can get ratings if we talk about this, and so let's stop talking about the pandemic. And that's when Americans finally realized, oh, yeah, you know what? Things are actually not as bad, right? People finally started to wake up. People finally started to get, a little bit red-pilled, as it were. And hopefully the red-pilling continues, and it is allowing people to start wake up to all of the things that have been going on the last couple of years, and hopefully hold various people in politics and in corporations responsible for some of the nonsense that has been going on at this point in time. But regardless of that, having this be the point of being considered to be the end of the pandemic box office-wise, I still think remains to be seen. You might be able to make an argument domestically, but I think we could have made that I think we pretty much could have made that argument back in December when huge amounts of people came out for Spider-Man No Way Home, to the point where that film almost reached $2 billion at the box office worldwide. So again, whenever they try and bring up the pandemic and trying to bring that up as an excuse for films not doing as well, I look to that film and I say, no, people just want films that they want to see. People will actually go to the theater and risk their lives, as it were, if there is a film that's actually worth going to see, if there's actually a film that is marketed well, if there is a film that seems to offer things that, fans want. Who would have thought giving fans fan service is going to bring people out to the theater? And apparently there are a lot of modern fans of Sonic the Hedgehog who feel like the first film gave them a lot of fan service, and that this one will and is, for people who have seen it, giving them a lot of fan service as well. As I mentioned in my review, I got 3/4 of the way through the film and then passed out, and then was woken up by the cleaning crew. So again, that kind of is my own interpretation of the film, but numbers are numbers. I'm never going to deny when a film is successful, and I know a lot of people have been fans of this film. So as usual, we have a preview number for a film. The model produces 2 predictions, and our final number is the weighted average of the 2. And so here they go ahead and give you comparable opening weekends. So they look at, pre-pandemic opening numbers there, and then they compare it to some of the other numbers that have been coming out from this past year. And so they had a predicted opening here of $74 million. I don't know exactly how their numbers work. I might have to actually dive into these numbers just a little bit more to find out exactly how it is that they come to the final prediction, which is $65 million from them, because the average of 74 and 37 is not 65. So anyway, I need to further dive into that and find out exactly what's going on. It says, based on fundamentals, Sonic is looking very good shape, and it could well double what the model would expect based on being a returning film in a family franchise. Aside from Disney's blockbusters, no film like this has opened with more than $55 million in many years. So 6.25 million in previews on Thursday is a welcome surprise, and should set the film up for something well over 60 million, with our final prediction being around 65 million, the weighted average of the fundamentals and previews prediction. So previews and fundamentals. So is this meant to be the fundamentals one? I'm a little confused on that. So do they have their fundamentals chart? I don't quite understand or know that, but anyway, they expect this film to make $65 million. And so as of right now, the film is around $40 million, again, worldwide. It's made $26.5 million here domestically, and so it seems to be well on pace to be able to match those numbers there. And I expect that the numbers will continue to go up, especially internationally, where it did get an early opening in those marketplaces. For Ambulance, the film that got the IMAX release this past weekend, they have a predicted opening of around $11 million, and their final predictions, it looks like, is going to be around $11.4 million, which would be decent for that film. Right now, it is sitting at 21.7, and again, internationally, it got a different release, and so it got 18.5 from international marketplaces, whereas it has $3.2 million so far from this weekend. And so $11 million is definitely possible at this point in time. So I would say that it's looking pretty good in that area. Let us see if they have the other numbers here. So $65 million is what they predict and project for Sonic the Hedgehog 2. They project that Morbius is going to have a 60% drop. And so they do not expect it to drop nearly as much as Box Office Pro had it. Box Office Pro had it around 71% of a drop. So we'll see just how much this film drops, because remember, in their projections, they had Morbius and Ambulance actually being very, very close, within about $1 million or so. This one puts a little bit more space between them, around about $3 or $4 million between them in difference. But Ambulance expected to open around $11.4 million according to their modeling. Lost City $9.4 million, Batman $8.5, Everything Everywhere All at Once getting a wider release there, $2.7 million. So these are the numbers. These are the top 10 films that they expect. $117.7 million for this weekend versus the $77.7 million. So again, definitely a higher number here. And that's because Morbius just did not bring a lot of people out to the theater, whereas Sonic is clearly bringing out a lot more people and will continue to bring a lot more people, right? Morbius really isn't doing much really anywhere. So this film has cracked $100 million worldwide, but $49.8 million in the domestic, $55.7 in the international. According to these projections, the film will be at around $39 million in the domestic market, which actually does not make any sense. I'm wondering if they that was the actual last weekend. Sorry. I'm used to reading the Box Office Pro numbers where they show you what the cumulative domestic number is. So it opened at 39 million and it'll be around a 60% drop with 15.6 million. Okay, gotcha. So it's looking like that is probably going to end up being true, probably going to make that about around that amount of money. Whereas The Lost City, yeah, remember when the headline was trying to spin it as a successful comedy? Yep. Not doing anything internationally, barely doing anything here in comparison. Again, the fact that this opening weekend of Sonic is expected to be more than the entire gross of The Lost City speaks a lot to that. And again, I've not seen The Lost City, so I can't say whether the film is good or not, but I do think it is interesting nonetheless that Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is expected to do better according to the numbers, which, as you know, I use for gathering my numbers in comparison. So let's go ahead and see if they have any. Let's see what shots they've got. We like to look at some shots here on the channel, right? We like looking at some shots, and I'll have the full box office breakdown, of course, on Sunday once all of those numbers come out and the final predictions come out. So as you can see, domestic for Friday was 26.5 million, which is why this is well on its way to reaching what they expected. Ambulance at 3.2. Morbius right now 83%. I don't know. They put it at 60% of a drop. I think this is actually going more so in the direction of what what Box Office Pro is saying, of being closer to a 71% drop. But I'm not surprised by this at all. I mean, one, it's got competition from Sonic the Hedgehog 2. You know, I guess you could say there's some competition from Ambulance, but Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is clearly making, you know, the bigger stand this weekend. But also the word of mouth on this film has just not been good. I know that there are some people that are defending it or saying it's not as bad, at least it's not woke. Numbers don't lie, and numbers are being pretty clear here. And I still say that there's a chance for the film to be able to hit its break-even point. But if this film continues to have massive drop-offs, it could even have an easy break-even be taken away from it. It's not at that point yet, but I do find it interesting, nonetheless, to look at this film in comparison to where it is previously. So anyway, those are the numbers as they stand now. So what do you think is going to happen? Do you think Sonic is going to get to the $70-75 million range, height? Do you think it's going to be closer to the $60 to $65 million average of many of these projections? Let me know in the comment section down below. Also, have you seen Sonic 2, and did you like it? Have you seen Ambulance? I've actually got tickets to go see Ambulance. I got a ticket to go see Father Stew. And at some point, I'm going to get tickets to go see a couple other films as well. Obviously, this coming week is Holy Week, and so I'm going to be trying to figure out the best way to see movies while, post Holy Week, because my time and attention, especially starting Holy Thursday, is going to be on that. But once we get to that first week of Easter, I should hopefully be able to have a couple of nights to be able to catch up on some of the films coming out, like the next Fantastic Beasts film, for instance. I was blanking on the name for a second. I wanted to say The Crimes of Grindelwald, but that was the last film. This is The Secrets of Dumbledore that's set to come out. But anyway, what are your thoughts about this or anything else I didn't mention in the comment section down below? If you like this video, smash that like button, loud that fire button. And honestly, y'all are amazing and beautiful people. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless. And now for a huge shout out to all of my April Patreon, Subscribe Star, and Locals members. Starting off with Patreon with Animation Commentator, Brandon, let's go Brandon, Brian P., Christopher Bowman, Father Christopher Miller, Hail to you, Father, Father Damian Cook, Garrett Searles, Harold Francis, Hymir Ari Hymeson, Inflamed Wood, Jacob from Holland, Jeff Toon, Joe Horn, Jonathan Carney, Gomer Kyle 79, Laura, the Modern Major General Story, Mike Jackson, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mondo Spieler, Mr. Peabody, On to June, Orange Hat Reviews, Priscilla Hall, Rosella Allen, Stan Andrian, Miss Martin Muses, Theodore Bendon, Tina Bojan, and Tina B., the Empress of the Universe. Thank you very much for supporting me over on Patreon. And also to my Subscribe Star peeps, Matt317, Storm Tracker, The R, Fast Reaction, Nosferatu Gatsu, Stand 4, John B., Mr. Roy, Glinzer, J. Alice McCarthy Jr., Dean Heiss, J-Rod the Beer Guru, and ZK-Man. And also a huge shout out to my Locals members, starting off with Kara Tharp, K Tharp 56. Also, UAB, Mad Dog, Mike Jackson, Robert Barnes, and also a huge support as well to Brett D90. Thank you very much for supporting me over on Locals. Thank you again to everyone for supporting the channel. Please, if you want your name shouted out at the end of every live stream and video, go ahead and check out the top link at the video description. It is my Willow link, as I like to describe it, and it brings you to a link tree where you get access to all of these different locations, as well as all of the various social media platforms that you can follow me on. If you join at the Citizen of Asgard level, you get your name shouted out at the end of every single live stream and video. Army of Asgard level gets you that, plus you get access to a giveaways channel that I have on Discord. If you ever don't have access to that giveaways channel, please contact me. I do send out the link to the Discord and with the instructions on it at the beginning of every single month. But if you don't have access to that giveaways channel where I'm giving away 4Ks and Blu-rays and all that kind of stuff, as much as I possibly can give away is available there. Please just reach out to me and I will gladly walk you through the process to make sure you get access to that giveaways channel. And again, that is, Army of Asgard level, whether you be on Patreon, Subscribestar, or on Locals. Also, if you are the keeper of the Bifrost level, you get access to all of that. Plus, you get access to a podcast that I do with John the Flick Pick Flickinger. We try and do it once or twice a month. I think we're going to try and do it twice this month to make up for some miscommunication that we had last month. So be on the lookout for that, and look out for those podcast Q&A posts that are always available on the Patreon main page, the Subscribestar main page, on the YouTube side of things as well. The YouTube community tab, you'll always find the podcast Q&A there, and also on the Locals page as well. And if you join at the Chosen of Valhalla level, the highest of the levels, you get access to all of that. Plus, if it's your first month, you get a free t-shirt, any t-shirt you want from my Teespring, my TeePublic, whichever one you want to get it from. You just let me know the size, location I'm sending it to, color, that kind of stuff. You get it sent to you. Plus, you get to be featured once a month on the Chosen of Valhalla live stream, where we all come together and just talk about movies and really anything the Chosen want to talk about, and it is a lot of fun. Anyway, thank you all very much for your love and for your support. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless.